So as you all know, they don't allow in foreign journalists into Gaza. Israel bans that because they know it'll make them look bad if people go in there and tell the truth. But we do have a bunch of Palestinian journalists who are there, who are telling their stories. And so one of these guys is a guy by the name of Anas al-Sharif. He's been documenting the entire genocide from the very beginning. He's an Al Jazeera journalist. He's done some super important work. And guess what? It turns out Israel just did a targeted assassination on him the other day, a massive terror attack where they not only killed him, they killed him and 6 other journalists at the same time. That's what just happened. So here, let me show you. The genocidal occupation has assassinated Anas al-Sharif, the most prominent journalist in Gaza, with a targeted airstrike. He posted 45 minutes ago and now he's dead. Kinetic strike, most likely keyed off his cell phone signal, which the IDF tracks. To the journalists in the West who toe the line with the New York Times editorial board, any words for your colleague? Well, they sure do have words for them because Israel immediately came out and smeared him as a Hamas terrorist. And you had a lot of Western outlets run with that, where they would both sides it. They'd say, oh, well, a lot of people say he was a journalist and he was doing important work, and others say he was a Hamas terrorist. So it would go out there and both sides it, and they have no interest in the actual truth. No interest in the fact that that's complete and utter horseshit. He had said the following: important, please share and tag all press freedom and human rights organizations. Once again, the Israeli army spokesperson has launched a campaign of threats and incitement against me because of my work as a journalist with Al Jazeera. I reaffirm, I, Anas al-Sharif, am a journalist with no political affiliations. My only mission is to report the truth from the ground as it is, without bias. So the reason he was posting stuff like that is because he knew that the IDF had it out for him, and there was effectively a target on his back. He was aware of that. This is him begging, this is him pleading for international solidarity and support. That's what this is. Well, guess what? They continue to lie about him. So all of the pro-Israel Zionist hacks on social media, they started spreading around fake news, pictures of him with Hamas leaders, which they say proves that he's a Hamas member. Kind of ironic, because one of the people who was sending this picture was that Eyal Yacobi, who I call Yak Boy, and he has pictures with fucking Netanyahu. So by your own standard, should it be legal to murder you, since you're hanging out with modern-day Adolf Hitler? What are you talking about? He's a journalist. Yes, he talked to Hamas people. Doesn't mean he was in Hamas. Okay, but they're spreading this. This is completely and utterly made up, by the way. This is supposedly a telegram message on October 7th, and it says, 9 hours and the heroes are still roaming the country, killing and capturing. God, God, how great are you? With hearts. Okay. The message is completely fake, and Mohammed Shahada points this out. Just went through all of Anas al-Sharif's messages on October 7, 2023. No such message exists. Telegram doesn't even put the date on the messages. Israel is so desperate to justify murdering Gaza's top journalist, but all they have are doctored documents, fake screenshots, and a picture he took as a journalist with Gaza's rulers. Absolutely incredible. Now, this is going to get a lot sadder, because here we have a video of Anas al-Sharif from earlier this year, the Al Jazeera journalist, reuniting with his young daughter during a Muslim holiday. Here, watch this. This is a guy, Israel murdered this guy. And think about what that poor little girl has to go through. Assuming, of course, she's still alive. Assuming she's still alive. All right, so Mohammed Shahada, he went on Al Jazeera after the terror attack against Anas al-Sharif, and it's actually 6 total Al Jazeera journalists. They took out the whole crew. The whole crew that was on the ground doing their job, reporting the facts. They're dangerous. And by the way, I should point this out too. The reason they did it now is because Israel, as you all know, is going to invade Gaza City. They're going to take over they're going to occupy the entire strip and resettle the entire strip. And this is phase 1 of that. And they're going to go into Gaza City and basically kill anything that remains. Kill anybody that remains. And so they knew Anas al-Sharif was not going to leave. They knew he was going to document anything and everything that they're doing in Gaza City. So in order to hide their atrocities, they said murder him up front. That's why they did it. All right, but here's Mohammed Shahada talking about this, reminding everybody the track record of the Israelis and all of the claims that they've made since the beginning of this genocide. And this really shows you how deplorable and low and disgusting and pathetic and fake the charge is that Anas al-Sharif was in Hamas. Here we go.
One thing that you need to keep in mind is Israel has been lying incessantly since the beginning of the genocide. It's been the cornerstone of Israel's genocidal campaign to lie every single day about everything possible and to come up with the most lunatic lies possible, imaginable. Israel lied about massacring the ambulance workers in Rafah. They lied about the GHF massacres. They lied about the Shifa hospital, the Flower massacre, the beheaded babies, Hamad hospital, Hind Rajab, the terror list at the Rantisi hospital that turned out to be a calendar, the World Central Kitchen workers, babies in ovens, white phosphorus, deliberately starving Gazans, Sinwar surrounding himself with 20 hostages in a tunnel, gassing hostages, the Ahli hospital, killing women and children with white flags, mass raping Palestinians, non-existent tunnels under graveyards, Nasser hospital, Hussam Abu Safiya, mass graves, snipers targeting kids in the hits, providing protection to criminal gangs that are looting aid systematically. Israel also lied about wiping out Gaza incrementally, gradually. They lied about refusing and collapsing the ceasefire, blowing up Gazans fleeing now south, blowing up and destroying Kamal Udwan hospital, claiming that dead Gazan children are fake plastic dolls, creating alleged safe zones that they push the people into and they bomb them once they get there. They lied about the general's plan. They lied about how many Hamas militants they killed, about the Red Crescent taking part in October 7th. That was another lie. They lied about how many journalists they've killed, and they lied about designating previous journalists as Hamas militants. They lied about Muhammad Abu Silmiya, the head of the Shifa hospital. They lied about the Indonesian hospital, about UNRWA, Al-Auda hospital, killing women sheltering at a church, bombing the church again, bombing another church, destroying every single university in Gaza, destroying the overwhelming majority of schools in Gaza, blowing up Gaza's Turkish cancer hospital, the sole cancer hospital in Gaza. They lied about Hamas hiding giant stockpiles of fuel in Rafah and Hamas looting aid. They lied about finding active smuggling tunnels in Rafah. They lied about hostages that would return pregnant. And they lied about who killed Yussi Sharabi, Itai Sivrisky, and other hostages as well that the IDF themselves killed. And after all these lies, Israel comes up and says, but trust us, our next lie will be 100% true. Trust us. You should attach as much value to Israel's allegations about Anas al-Sharif as you attach to the dust on the floor. Because without lies at this stage, without lies, Israel's narrative dies completely. It's the only way they can sustain the genocide.
So they've murdered over 200 journalists, which is more than any conflict in history. And what they're doing is targeting journalists because journalists tell the story of the Palestinians. And they don't want that. They don't want the story to get out. It makes them look bad. It makes them look really bad. So after Anas got killed, an Al Jazeera reporter was on air and he burst into tears.
وفي مداخلة سابقة نهاية شهر يوليو الماضي وفي ذكرى مرور عام على استشهاد الزميل إسماعيل الغول تحدث الزميل أنس الشريف عن التهديدات التي يتعرض لها من قوات الاحتلال خلال تغطيته للحرب على قطاع غزة.
The fact that the world has let this go on as long as it has, it really makes you lose faith in humanity. I mean, it really does. If we're being blunt about it, if we're being straightforward about it, I mean, how can people sit here and watch this happen and just act like it's nothing, right? People are supposed to go about living their normal lives, going about their normal days, knowing that now these are the rules of the road. And nobody's safe. Nobody's safe anymore. The Geneva Convention, the Nuremberg Tribunals, right? International law, the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice. Now you look at that and you go, oh, that is completely and utterly fake. And it's optional. And it's law of the jungle. Really, it's might makes right. Really, it's the more powerful you are, you can get away with whatever the fuck you want to get away with. And that means none of us are safe. None of us are safe. That's what that means. Because if you let this happen, there's nothing you won't let happen, right? I mean, that's actually what it comes down to. Now, I also want to give you an update on the starving. Here's some statistics on it. 13 days of trucks entering the Gaza Strip since the Israeli occupation announced it would allow aid in starting Sunday, the 27th of July. Okay, so Israel said under pressure, international pressure, on July 27th, they go, it's okay, we're going to start allowing in more trucks. Ready? So on July 27th, they allowed in 73 trucks. 28th, 87 trucks. The 29th, 109 trucks. The 30th, 112 trucks. And then we go on and on here. The highest you get is 112 trucks on July 30th. And then the lowest you get is, I believe, 36 trucks on August 2nd. But as you can see, the number is around 80, 90, 95 trucks that they allow in per day. Okay, you ready for this? The total number of trucks that entered Gaza reached only 1,115 out of the 7,800 trucks required. So in other words, just 14% of the actual needs of Gaza. The majority of those trucks were looted or seized amid a manufactured state of chaos deliberately engineered by the Israeli occupation as part of a systemic policy of starvation and chaos engineering aimed at breaking the will of the Palestinian people and undermining their resilience. So what he's referring to here is what we reported on. I forget who originally reported it. It may have been Haaretz. I think it was Haaretz, but there was a big article where they explained how the IDF is working with effectively jihadist gangs, and they are paying these jihadist gangs to steal the aid, and then when these gangs steal the aid, Israel turns around and says, Hamas stole the aid. But really, it's Israel paying these jihadist gangs to steal the aid. That's what's been happening. And so, as a direct result of that, here are the pictures. I'm going to warn you, this is hard to look at, but you need to see these because this is what's actually happening with our tax money in our name, because here in the U.S., we arm and fund Israel and support them no matter what they do. And here's the direct result of those policy actions. Look. These are all completely real pictures of starving people, babies, seniors. This is what it looks like. This is what this policy looks like in action. And again, the world sat back and let it happen. This one's tough to watch too. I'm going to warn you from Dropsite News. We actually have video. You know how they've been doing some airdrop of aids? Well, of aid, I should say. Well, the airdrops it's PR. It's marketing. It's bullshit. Because you can only get in a tiny fraction of the amount of aid that's needed through airdrops. So this is all just like, this is all marketing. This is all managing optics, right? And so these things are also very dangerous, right? And we actually ended up getting video. Again, I'll warn you, skip ahead like 30 seconds or so if you, don't want to see this. But here we have somebody who actually got crushed by falling aid to the ground. So people try to position themselves to get to the aid because they're starving and they desperately need it. And sometimes you position yourself a little too well and the aid lands on top of you and crushes you and kills you, which is exactly what happened in this instance. So we also have this. Auda Hathaleen worked on the Oscar-winning film No Other Land, okay? And he actually filmed himself getting killed by an Israeli settler. I believe this was released by the Israeli human rights group, Bet Salem. I believe they got their hands on this video and released it. But the guy recording this video is literally an Oscar-winning filmmaker who was involved in No Other Land, the story about the West Bank. And he literally filmed his death. So again, I'll warn you in advance, this is about 25 seconds. Skip ahead if you don't want to see this, but this is ugly. So he literally filmed his own death. This is the guy right here. The guy in the gray shirt in the distance. That's the settler who ends up killing him. Watch again. There you go. And by the way, this is totally commonplace in the West Bank. In the West Bank, they are putting the clamps down. They're taking over the entire West Bank. So it's not only that Israel's taking over all of Gaza, resettling all of Gaza, they're going to take over all the West Bank. They're going to ethnically cleanse that as well. They're also stealing large swaths of Syria. They feel invincible right now because there's been no consequences for their actions, and they're trying to create the greater Israel. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're working on. And so what you're seeing here, this is not like a special day in the West Bank. In the West Bank, the IDF and the illegal settlers regularly terrorize the Palestinians who live there. Regularly. And there's a guy filming his own murder. Just horrible, terrible, horrific updates here for you. And again, I think the most soul-sucking part of this is at no point does the true narrative break through, right? The true narrative being exactly what it looks like. That Anas al-Sharif was a journalist doing his job, bravely covering the horrific atrocities against the Palestinian people. And instead of that being how the media in the West discusses it, what they do is they both sides it. And so as long as the IDF is out there saying, oh, he was a Hamas terrorist, then there's always a line in every article saying, oh, he's alleged to have been a Hamas terrorist. And that's enough to make a lot of people sort of, brush it off and act like, oh, okay, well, there's a question about that, so, what are you going to do? But it's a lie, and it's a smear, and it's a way to try to make you look away from the regular atrocities and war crimes and genocidal actions that are occurring on a daily basis in Gaza, now in the West Bank too. And it's just sad day for humanity. Like I said, I know I'm not the only one, but it's very easy to lose hope in humanity watching the reaction to what's been going on when this should be on the forefront of everybody's mind and everybody should be fighting to change this. I'll end on this point. I think the Irish president is right when he came out and said it's time for multilateral military action against Israel to force them to stop the genocide, to allow in all of the aid, allow in all of the medicine. I think the international community should keep Israel in check. And if the international community needs to use military force to get Israel to stop being the genocidal maniac that it is, well, then that's what we should do. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.